I think the hardest thing about this human experience is the act of showing up as your true self, your real and authentic nature, and to actually have the courage to show people who you truly are. And today I want to talk about that a little bit, about how to show up as yourself. I know for me, it was one of the hardest things that I've done, and for decades I actually was coiled up in a shell and wasn't truly myself. I hid who I really was, and I was actually terrified that who I was wasn't wanted, would be rejected, and that actually it was unsafe for me to be who I am. So we'll explore that a little bit today. Hello and welcome back to the garden. I'm so happy to have you back. If it's your first time, wamgelekile, welcome. And if you're returning and you're still here, thank you so much for sticking around. To be nobody but yourself in a world that is doing its best night and day to make you into everybody else is the hardest battle which every human being must fight. And isn't that the truth? I know that because of conditioning, because of some of the experiences that I had, moving quite a lot as a child and feeling like an outsider in every place that I was introduced to, being a twin, some of you might know that I'm a twin, and the tendency for people to compare you, that also added to my experience of wanting to hide myself, wanting to be something other than what I thought was not acceptable. Paired with that, some of the experiences I later had with trauma, physical trauma, and being exposed to media, magazines that say to you, this is how you should look, this is what beauty means, this is the kind of weight that you should aim for, this is the kind of hair that is beautiful, that is acceptable. Those things add to, especially as women, but for all of us, it adds to the experience that you have in life with regards to how you feel about yourself and how you navigate in the world. It took me really the last 6 years and even less to really come home to myself and accept myself for who I really am. The traumas that occurred in my teens almost felt like they matured with age. As I got older, the effect that they had on who I really was became even more intense. And so I really felt that it was important for me to share about the subject today, how we show up as our authentic self, as our essence, right? There's a fundamental nature that we are, that we know we are. And a lot of us remember being connected to it quite a long time ago. So within our childhoods, right? But I know that it's possible to reconnect with that person because I've done that for myself. How then do you begin to show up as yourself? The first and most important aspect that I want to begin with is to remind you that regardless of all the layers that you've put on yourself because of your life experiences, you are whole and complete and perfect at your core already. that is who you are. And it's important to remember that, because we often believe the lies that the stories of our lives have given us. Really, at your core, you are pure awareness. This is the awareness, this is the frequency of the fragrance of the flowers, right? The energy that helps you to breathe all night without having to think about it, and the force that brings the sun up with each day, with each morning. That is who you are. The first thing that I would say is important in, reuniting with who you really are, is to anchor yourself into your breath. We don't often think about our breath, the significance of our breath, and how it actually keeps us connected to the core, that pure awareness that I mentioned just now, but the oneness of who we really are, the oneness of everything. So our breath is chi, is life force. By being aware of our breath more and more through our days, we're actually being more aware and actively participating in the core of our essence, right? In the truth of who we really are. So I wanted to start with that, just to, before we carry on, is just to invite you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable with that, but to connect with the breath, right? That miraculous force that breathes us even when we're not aware that we're being breathed, right? We just connect with your breath. Energy goes where attention flows. So bring your attention to your belly area, your womb region, and just connect with this gift of life. Allow your breath to breathe you. So surrender into the rhythm that it knows is good for you in this time. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe in, become aware that you're breathing in fresh, pure energy. And then hold it for as long as you can. And then go ahead and exhale. Emptying out your belly completely. And then at the end of the breath, hold the breath for as long as you can before you take your next inhale in. Let's do that 3 times. So deep breath in, breathing in awareness, pure consciousness, fresh, renewed energy. And we have awareness at the end of the in-breath, and we pause there. And then as we exhale, we exhaling old, stale, outdated energy from within our body. We're making intentions to expel that. And then at the end of the breath, we hold our breath and we're away. And I'm going to let you do the last cycle on your own. Making sure to pause and to pay attention at the end of each step. So in breath and out breath. Just become aware of the space at each of those ends. As to, even when you're feeling anxious or nervous, or that you're spiraling out, or you're not feeling as confident as you'd like to be, or you're overthinking, is to connect to your breath. And connected to that is posture. I mentioned posture in one of my earlier videos, but did you know that if you have a straight back and you pay attention to your posture, right? And perhaps you're feeling a little bit depressed or sad, it's difficult for you to stay in that state if you have a posture that is upright and confident and connected, right? Connected to almost like an antenna to the heavens and connected to the earth. You have to be slouching to feel a specific way. But as soon as you open your body up, you're inviting a kind of heroic energy and stance within you. Your energy begins to shift and even your thoughts begin to shift. The third one is to be healthy. No one emphasizes this when we're growing up. No one emphasizes this in PE. That subject we did at school, physical education, where we're moving between classes. But no one really emphasizes the importance of why it's so important for us to be healthy. Our body has its own consciousness, and the thing is that the entire happening of life happens within our bodies. And so it is quite a significant thing to have our bodies be healthy, because our thoughts, our emotions, our ideas, everything is generated from the sacred vessel, right? This church that is our body. The food that we eat, the things that we put into our body, even the music that we listen to, everything that comes into our system, whether it comes in vibrationally or comes in as food, affects our moods, it affects our emotions. And I want you to notice that within yourself, how when you eat healthier, how you actually feel and how you show up in the world, how you even, how you posture yourself. Become more aware of when you eat what we would call low vibrational foods like junk food, how you begin to feel, what kind of thoughts you have. You want to become comfortable in the home that is your body. You want to make it a sacred place that is thriving. When you wake up, you have energy and you have sustained energy, and you don't necessarily need coffee or other stimulants to feel yourself energetic. Foods that are alive help us to feel like our life force is circulating well and is living. Make it a priority to start to understand your health better. Perhaps you need to eat for your blood type, and like in Ayurveda, they would pair you with the kinds of foods and beverages that are aligned with your element. So those who are a fire element, there's certain things that make you feel better, and there's certain things that aggravate your energy field, your aura. The fourth thing that I'd like to offer is to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for all the times you have forsaken yourself. I often say that we're raised in a world that trains us to forsake ourselves, to turn down our innate intuition and the natural things that we're drawn towards, because we're taught, no, this is the way that you go. You don't think for yourself. You go this way. We tell you what to do. We tell you how you should feel, what you should eat, when you should go to school, what you should study, and you have no choice about it. And all of you will dress the same. So it's just this constant emphasizing of being something other than who you naturally are. We trained out of listening to our intuition. Forgiving ourselves gives us room and grace for us to ask for more and to begin to reach for more, to actually give us permission to be more. There were times where I forsaked myself. I think that's the word, forsake myself, by remaining friends with people I didn't want to be friends with, even though I felt unsafe with them. I wasn't even able to defend myself in times where I should have defended myself. You remain friends with people who bully you, or with people who prove many times that they're not necessarily worthy of your loyalty. So whatever the case might be, in terms of what you need to forgive yourself for, you would know. But begin to list those things and forgive yourself so that you can let those energies go and make room for more. Make room for better, make room for beauty, make room for light, for fun, for adventure, for love, for the things that you secretly desire and wish for. What's also important about forgiving ourselves, it leads me to the next point, is that we begin to become proud of ourselves. And I want you to become proud of yourself. at least to begin to cultivate that pride within yourself. You might be thinking right now, as I say that, there's nothing for me to be proud of. And I want to challenge you. There's probably something to be very, very proud of within yourself, even if it's something that you need to ask someone about. You maybe ask a close family member, someone that you trust, or a friend, what are you proud of about me, about who I am? What do you like about me? Even if it's just something as simple as I'm so proud that I'm still alive. I know that for myself, there were so many times that I begged to go back home, that I just didn't want to be here. I was so ashamed of who I am. I was so resentful of the things that had made me the way that I'd become. And I wasn't even so much resentful at the things, I was resentful at myself. I was violent in my thoughts and my self-talk and how I spoke to myself. Even within those times, I know that even when I felt that way, if I went down to the shops to go and get myself something, I always showed grace and kindness to other people. I was still empathetic, and I knew sometimes when I needed to make a sandwich for someone, or put bottles of water in the freezer so I could and keep them in my car, and I could give them to those who were selling newspapers or begging at the streets and just simply needed water. I know that I was able to slowly say, huh, I'm proud of you for maintaining kindness and seeing others even when you were in so much pain. Begin to find the things that you're proud of. I'm proud that I made my bed this morning. It might sound silly for some people, but for those who might be in a space where they are quite depressed, it might be a big deal to show up in yourself and look after yourself and do things like that. So there is something to be proud of. This leads me to the next one, which is to know your own beauty and to begin to name it. To begin to name it and to begin to acknowledge it and to begin to really be connected to it. What is it that you love about yourself? What is it that you respect about yourself? What are the favorite things about yourself? You might feel like there's absolutely nothing for me to be proud of about myself. And again, I would challenge you and say, I don't believe you, it isn't true, because all of us have a light that is so beautiful and it's so unique, and you have one. Even if you have to look into your memories and into your past to understand what those things are, I want you to do that. In order for us to show up as who we are, we need to know what that is, who that person is. Maybe you like your height, maybe you like how you're able to really listen to people, maybe you like how you cook, maybe you like to watch the sunrise and the sunset, maybe you like candles, maybe you like water. I want you to understand what your beauty is, um, what you love about yourself, and what you love about your life, what you love in life. When we're connected to that, then we know ourselves better, because we can start doing more of the things that we know we are. We can do more of the things that we know make us happy. We can also then begin to start asserting our preferences to people, because you know who you are. And when you know who you are, you respect yourself, and other people start respecting you, and you start choosing better for yourself, as opposed to doing things that you don't really want to do, or again doing things where you are forsaking yourself. We're done with that. We're no longer forsaking ourselves. Understand what you love and tap into it. Allow it to begin to show you what you want more of, what you're done with, what you'd like to eliminate for your life. And yeah, allow it to help you dream even better. Connected to that is the next one, which is to acknowledge yourself, acknowledge your achievements, and acknowledge who you are, who you've become in this moment today. We're always looking to the future. We always want more, want different, and it often takes us away from the right now, from the moment in front of us, which is really what life is, from living. When we're able to say, I acknowledge that I am a different person than who I was 2 months ago, 2 years ago, because this is what's happened. I've achieved, maybe you've completed a course, maybe you've noticed that you are far more patient than you were some time back, that certain things just don't trigger you anymore. Acknowledge these things, acknowledge the small transformations that you make, acknowledge the achievements that you've made along the way. Maybe this anchors in who you become. So you're actually acknowledging it, and it's anchoring in who is right now, and you can begin to dissolve who you were 3 months ago, and you actually begin to operate from who you've become in this moment, who you actually are. It also put things into perspective. Sometimes we think we're lacking more than we actually are, but we have more gifts than we actually even realize. And that's what acknowledging also does. For instance, I was volunteering at a camp for youth very many years ago, and I had to write a speech. And there was a guy there, much older than I, but I remember how I admired him so much for what he showed me in such a short amount of time. I just didn't know what to write in my speech, and I didn't quite know how I could inspire these. Although I was in my 20s myself, I was still young. These were, high schoolers who were younger than me. I just didn't know how to inspire them. I didn't feel like I had anything worthwhile to share. And then he said, how many jobs have you had? And then I told him, the kind of jobs that one puts on their CVs. And then he goes, no, what was your first job? And I said, oh, my first job was working at a tuck shop at, I think I was 16, maybe I was 15. And he goes, wow, so you started working at 15. You're 25 now, so you have 10 years work experience. And I was like, oh, that blew my mind. So by that time, I'd in fact had many more jobs. Well, that already put the way that I valued myself and my own perception of what I'd achieved in complete perspective. And it made me feel some kind of way about myself. I felt more confident about who I was just by understanding the value that I brought into the world. Acknowledgement is everything. The next one that's connected to that is honoring and celebrating yourself and who you are. Honoring and celebrating the small little wins that transform us, that help us to step into our prayers. That we're inside of something we prayed for 3 years ago, 13 years ago. Honoring what you are and what you know, because that's where humility is understanding what you are, right? And what you're not, who you are and who you're not, and what you know and what you don't know. So acknowledge them, celebrate them, own what you know, so that you don't compare yourself to other people. Oh no, this person knows more than me, but actually, what do I know? Celebrate that, acknowledge that, know what you know, so that you can begin to attract more and more who you really are. You can begin to show up as who you are. It's like it's this thing that emboldens you and swells you up with more of what's true, more of what's real, more of what's you. Honoring yourself and celebrating yourself cannot be separated from having fun. To have fun in ways that make sense to you. It doesn't need to involve money, but the more fun that we cultivate, the more adventure that we have, and the more laughter that we have, the more, again, we let our true nature find its way through us, as us. Connected to that energy and that spirit of having fun, self talk is self love. How we speak to ourselves, the tone of our dialogue, our thoughts, that voice in our head, and the witness, right? There's always the witness and the talker, but the voice in your head, how it speaks to you. Is it kind? Are the words that you use to speak over your life fair? Are they graceful? How we speak to ourselves waters our life. Our thoughts water our life, and so it matters the quality of our thoughts. I'm encouraging you to begin to become more and more aware of your thoughts, and specifically the tone. Are your thoughts loving? Are they compassionate? Are they encouraging? Are they warmth? We need to be within ourselves, within our head, within our mind, within our thoughts, what we have needed the most in all aspects or chapters of our life. The next point that I'd like to invite you to think about is to take accountability. Take accountability as a practice, a spiritual practice. I like to call it a spiritual hygiene practice. You're allowing yourself to put everything on the table so you can see your life for what it truly is. See yourself for what you truly are. And to have courage to look, because a lot of people are not willing to look at what they've done, how they've behaved, or even just how their lives have turned out. But when we can acknowledge through taking accountability what this present moment is, what chapter of this part of our lives is, it's about taking accountability. Perhaps you say, I'm taking accountability of how I have shown up as an angry person to my family members, or I'm taking accountability for the fact that I have been unkind to myself and I've allowed people to mistreat me, or I'm taking accountability that I haven't been fully behind the driver's seat of my life, and I'm now taking full responsibility to be the person that I need myself to be now in order for my life to go in the direction of how I'd like it to go. The next one is to accept what is as it is. A lot of our anxiety and our pain comes from us dwelling on the past or being fixated on how we want the future to be, and we deny what is actually occurring in the present moment. And accepting something, it doesn't mean that it'll be that way forever, but you accept it in its fullness so that you can move on to magnetizing towards you, attracting what it is that you really desire. But we need to see what things are like now fully before we can move in that direction. If you're able to, with that, is to begin to be grateful for what is right now. Perhaps you don't like the house that you live in, but you can be grateful for the fact that you have a roof over your head at present, that you have a warm bed to sleep in, that you have a pillow, that you are safe at night when you go to sleep. So to begin to be grateful for what is actually here in front of you, so that you are given more things to be grateful for. And that's the thing, that's how the universe works, that's how it reflects itself to us, is that it gives us what we are. So if we're grateful, despite perhaps not being where we want to be in our lives, if we are grateful, we can attract to us gradually the life that we dream for ourselves. The next one that I'd like to offer you is to learn your vibration. Now, if you know me and you're familiar with my work, you know that a lot of what I focus on is the 4-part body system. So my work is as a transformation guide, and I help people move through the blockages within their life and within their physical bodies as well that cause them from living the life that they really want. I work with truth seekers from all around the world, and those committed to evolving themselves while they're here on this earth experience. And how I do some of that is to focus on the physical, spiritual, emotional, and mental bodies. And the fourth one that I like to call the Holy Trinity is the head, the mind, heart, and diaphragm, the womb coherence. In short, that's what I focus on. And when you understand what gives your physical body life, right, it makes you feel good. You understand that eating healthy keeps your energies high. It keeps your creativity flowing. It keeps you able to focus on your work for longer periods of time. And so why I speak about understanding your vibration is because you are able to understand more and more who you really are, but on a molecular vibrational level. So you know how to support yourself when you're feeling physically weaker, or you're not as sharp on the mind. Maybe you can drink different teas, but the invitation here is to be able to discern vibrationally what you need at any given time. Maybe you need to rest your mind and think less, so that means you must meditate and take a walk and just give the mind some space. And that might also simultaneously support the emotions on the emotional level. And this might also be connected to a spiritual practice, but that you support yourself spiritually and emotionally when you take a shower at the end of the day, or after a particularly intense interaction with people or someone. The more you know yourself, the more clarity you have, the more clarity with what you want to do in your days, the more clarity with your ideas. Having clarity in knowing yourself is putting down the past, knowing when to put things down. Whether it's guilt that you might feel about who you are, the things you've done in the past, or the ways that you've behaved in the past. Knowing to put things down and acknowledge that, what, I understand, I acknowledge, I take responsibility for who I've been in the past, but that's not who I am now. And to really own and acknowledge and pick up what is true in this moment. A big part of this as well, for me, it's in my top 3, I would even say top 2, is to understand your character and your values. What are your values? When you understand this about yourself, you're not being pulled by the wind into anything and into situations that might not even be aligned with who you really are. And I'll give you an example. A few years ago, I was invited to participate in a mini documentary that was profiling different healers, creators, artists, storytellers. And this series was sponsored by Coca-Cola. And while I really appreciated the idea of what this project was about, I knew that my values don't allow with Coca-Cola's values and the brand's impact on the world. I would have really benefited from the money. I really needed it at that time. But I know that my integrity and my character, the way that I've understood it and the way that I stand within who I am, is that I'm not willing to do certain things just because I need a bag, to use what the children say. There's no bag big enough to override my integrity and my value system. When you know what your values are, you know when you're in the wrong room, you know when you're sitting in front of the wrong person or peoples, and you can then move in the direction of your highest self, driven by your divinity, your values, and as well as your integrity. I have one last one, which is a biggie for me. And this one seems obvious, but it's not always, because of some of the experiences that we have that make us believe that we're less than, that makes us believe that we're not worthy of the best, of love, of ease. Give yourself permission to be who you are. It's important to constantly remind yourself and tell yourself that you are worthy of being yourself. I give myself permission to be myself now. It is safe to be who I really am. Speak it until it becomes a living truth within yourselves. And that's the beauty about affirmations. You might not believe them at first, but like the seed that you water, it will sprout. You will change. I am grateful that you made it all the way to the end. I would love to hear what you thought about some of the elements on the list and what you have practiced within your own life to show up as who you truly are. I would also appreciate it if you could share this video with maybe someone who's been struggling with their self-esteem, who's been struggling with their self-worth, to be who they truly are and can't even see that they're a beautiful, beautiful being. Do share, please comment, please like, please subscribe. It helps to grow the channel and to get to the people that need to see these teachings and these messages. I'm grateful for your light. I'm grateful for your time. And I look forward to seeing you again in the garden. Happy Sunday, or whatever day it is when you see this. I love you.